The text message arrived at 9:47 on a Tuesday night while I was folding laundry in our bedroom. My phone buzzed on the dresser and I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It was from my husband's cousin, Amber, someone I barely knew. The message was short. "Thought you should see this." Below it was a video file. I tapped it and watched the screen load. Within seconds, I recognized the floral wallpaper of my mother-in-law's dining room and heard her voice, sharp and clear. She was sitting at her table with two of her friends, coffee cups scattered between them. "Honestly, I don't know what my son sees in her," she said, laughing. "She's so plain. No ambition, no personality. Just coasting on his success." Her friends murmured agreement while my chest tightened. "I've been working on showing him what a real partner looks like," she continued. "Someone who matches our family standards." I watched the entire 2-minute clip twice before my hands started shaking. Not from tears, but from something colder. Calculation. Because what my mother-in-law didn't know was that I had spent 3 years quietly documenting every boundary she crossed, every lie she told, every manipulation she attempted. And now I finally had proof of her intentions. I met Nathan 5 years ago at a charity fundraiser in Seattle. He was a corporate lawyer with a steady smile and thoughtful eyes. I was a graphic designer working freelance, building my portfolio slowly and carefully. We fell in love over coffee shop conversations and weekend hikes, building something genuine and calm. When he proposed after 2 years, I said yes without hesitation. His mother, Patricia, seemed pleasant at first. She welcomed me with tight hugs and compliments about my dress sense. But the mask slipped gradually. First came the suggestions. Maybe I should consider a more stable career. Perhaps I should think about graduate school. Wouldn't it be nice if I learned to cook the family recipes properly? Then came the comparisons. Nathan's ex-girlfriend had been a doctor. His high school sweetheart had come from a prominent family. His college girlfriend had been so elegant at formal events. Each comment was delivered with a smile, wrapped in concern, impossible to challenge without seeming oversensitive. I learned to nod politely and change the subject. But the truth was simpler than Patricia wanted to admit. She had never wanted Nathan to marry anyone. She wanted him to stay hers forever, and I was the obstacle standing in her way. The morning after I received that video, I sat at our kitchen table while Nathan made breakfast. He moved around the kitchen with easy familiarity, humming softly while scrambling eggs. I watched him and felt the weight of what I knew pressing against my chest. Should I show him the video immediately? Should I wait? I had learned from 3 years of marriage that timing mattered with Patricia. Any confrontation she could dismiss as drama or misunderstanding. She was brilliant at playing the wounded mother, at making Nathan feel guilty for doubting her love. I needed something more substantial than a single video. I needed a pattern so clear that even her tears could not obscure it. So I smiled at Nathan when he set my plate down and kissed the top of my head. I ate my eggs and drank my coffee and made conversation about his upcoming case. And later, after he left for work, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I titled it simply, Documentation. Then I uploaded the video Amber had sent me and began pulling together everything else I had quietly saved over the past 3 years. Screenshots of text messages, emails with contradictory stories, photos of gifts she claimed I never thanked her for, with my thank you notes clearly visible in the background. I was building a case. Patricia's tactics had escalated over the years. At first, it was subtle undermining. She would mention to Nathan how tired I looked, how stressed I seemed, suggesting maybe the freelance lifestyle was too demanding. She would offer to hire me a therapist or a career coach, framing it as generosity while implying I was failing. Then came the interference. She had a key to our house, a gift Nathan gave her after we married because she helped him buy the property before we met. She used it liberally. I would come home to find she had rearranged my kitchen cabinets because the organization was inefficient. She replaced my dish soap with a brand she preferred. She bought new towels and removed mine because they were not the quality she expected in her son's home. When I gently suggested she call before visiting, she cried to Nathan about feeling unwelcome in the house she had helped purchase. He asked me to be more understanding. His mother had always been involved in his life. It was just her way of showing love. But I knew better. This was not love. It was control. And the video Amber sent me proved Patricia's intentions had never been about helping me become a better wife. They were about proving I was not good enough so Nathan would eventually agree. 2 days after receiving the video, Patricia called to invite us to Sunday dinner. Her voice was warm and cheerful, the same tone she always used before undermining me in front of Nathan. "I'm making Nathan's favorite pot roast," she said. "And I thought it would be nice to have family time. Just the 3 of us." I accepted the invitation politely, my mind already working. This dinner would be an opportunity to observe, to see if her behavior matched the cruelty I had witnessed in that video. Nathan was thrilled when I told him. "Mom's been trying so hard to connect with you," he said. "I know she can be a lot sometimes, but she really does care." I nodded and said nothing. That night, I went through my documentation folder again. I had 3 years of evidence. Text messages where Patricia told Nathan I seemed distant, when I had been nothing but cordial. Photos she sent him of other women with captions like, "Remember when you dated her?" Emails where she discussed our finances without my knowledge, suggesting Nathan put assets in trusts I could not access. I had saved everything, not out of paranoia, but out of preservation. Because I knew eventually there would come a moment when I needed to defend myself. And that moment was approaching faster than I had anticipated. Sunday arrived with clear skies and cold air. I dressed carefully in a navy sweater and jeans, nothing fancy but neat and appropriate. Nathan wore the shirt his mother had given him for Christmas, a small gesture I knew she would notice and appreciate. We drove to Patricia's house in comfortable silence, his hand resting on my knee. When we arrived, Patricia greeted us at the door with exaggerated warmth. She hugged Nathan tightly and gave me a brief squeeze that felt performative. Come in, she said, ushering us inside. "Everything's almost ready." The house smelled like roasted meat and herbs. The dining table was set with her good china and fresh flowers. It looked like a scene from a magazine, carefully curated to create an image of perfect family harmony. I noticed immediately that she had set only 2 place settings with wine glasses. Mine had water. A small detail, but deliberate. Patricia always served wine with dinner. The omission was a message. Throughout the meal, I watched her closely. She directed most of her conversation toward Nathan, asking about his cases and his colleagues. When she did address me, the questions were pointed. "Are you still doing freelance work, or have you found something more stable?" She smiled sweetly while saying it. After dinner, Patricia suggested Nathan help her move some boxes in the garage, a task that conveniently left me alone in the living room. I sat on her sofa and looked around the space. Family photos covered every surface. Nathan as a child, Nathan graduating college, Nathan at his law school graduation. There were no photos of us together. None from our wedding, none from holidays we had spent with her. It was as if our marriage existed only as an inconvenience to be edited out of the family narrative. I heard their voices in the garage, muffled but audible. Patricia was talking about a colleague's daughter who had just made partner at a law firm. "She's beautiful and brilliant," Patricia said. "Remember when you 2 dated briefly in law school?" I could not hear Nathan's response, but I knew the pattern. She was planting seeds, reminding him of past options, suggesting that perhaps he had settled too quickly. When they came back inside, Nathan looked tired. Patricia was smiling. "Thank you for helping, sweetheart," she said, touching his arm. "You're always so good to your mother." I stood up and thanked her for dinner. My voice was steady and polite. She walked us to the door and hugged Nathan again, whispering something in his ear that made him nod. She gave me a brief wave. "See you soon," she said. As we drove home, Nathan was quiet. I reached over and squeezed his hand, saying nothing. I was waiting. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in bed beside Nathan while he breathed deeply, already dreaming. I stared at the ceiling and thought about the dinner. Patricia's performance had been flawless. To anyone watching, she would seem like a devoted mother trying to connect with her daughter-in-law. But I saw the manipulation beneath the surface. The pointed questions, the exclusion from conversation, the deliberate reminders of Nathan's past relationships. Every action was calculated to make me feel small and temporary. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and went to the kitchen. I poured myself water and opened my laptop. The documentation folder glowed on the screen. I added notes from the dinner. The missing wine glass. The comment about stable employment. The whispered conversation with Nathan that I was not meant to hear. Patterns mattered. One incident could be dismissed. 3 years of incidents created an undeniable picture. I thought about Amber's video again. Patricia sitting with her friends, openly discussing how to show Nathan what a real partner should look like. That phrase haunted me. She was not just undermining our marriage. She was actively working to end it. And suddenly I understood that waiting passively would not protect me. I needed to act strategically, carefully, with perfect timing. I needed Nathan to see the truth himself, in a way Patricia could not explain away. The next morning, I called Amber. We had only met twice at family gatherings, but she had sent me that video for a reason. When she answered, I got straight to the point. Thank you for sending me that recording. Can I ask why you did? There was a pause. Then Amber sighed. Because I've watched her do this before. Nathan's last girlfriend, the one everyone thought was so perfect? Patricia destroyed that relationship too. She convinced Nathan that the girl was cheating when she wasn't. She manufactured evidence and played the concerned mother until he believed her. My stomach dropped. What kind of evidence? Text messages she claimed to find. Conversations she said she overheard. Little things that added up until Nathan couldn't ignore them. The girlfriend tried to defend herself, but Patricia had been so careful. By the time the truth came out, the relationship was already over. Amber's voice was tight with old anger. I sent you that video because you deserve to know what you're up against. She will not stop until you're gone. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand. Patricia had done this before. This was not about me personally. It was about control, about keeping Nathan dependent on her approval and guidance. Any woman he chose would face the same campaign. But I was not going to be driven away quietly. I was going to make sure Nathan understood exactly who his mother was. I spent the next week being especially kind to Patricia. I texted her thank you notes for dinner. I sent her articles I thought she might enjoy. I asked her advice on decorating our home office. Every message was friendly and genuine in tone, carefully documented. Patricia responded with increasing warmth, clearly believing she was winning. She invited me to lunch, just the two of us. I accepted immediately. We met at a restaurant she chose, a place with white tablecloths and expensive salads. She ordered wine and asked about my work with apparent interest. I answered honestly, describing current projects and future goals. Then she leaned forward and patted my hand. You know, dear, I only want what's best for Nathan. He works so hard and deserves a partner who can truly support his career. I smiled gently. I completely agree. That's why I work from home. It gives me flexibility to be there when he needs me. Her smile tightened slightly. Of course. Though some women in his position have more traditional careers. More stability for when children come. There it was. The subtle implication that I was not enough, wrapped in concern about hypothetical future children. I nodded thoughtfully. Nathan and I have discussed that. We're aligned on our timeline and priorities. I did not elaborate. Did not defend. Just stated facts calmly. Patricia's expression flickered with frustration before she recovered. After lunch, I thanked her again and hugged her goodbye. Then I went home and added detailed notes to my folder. 2 weeks after the lunch, Nathan came home from work looking troubled. He dropped his briefcase by the door and loosened his tie. "Can we talk?" he asked. My heart rate picked up, but I kept my expression calm. "Of course. What's wrong?" We sat on the couch and he was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "My mom called me today. She said she's worried about you. About us." I waited, saying nothing. "She thinks you seem unhappy, distant. She mentioned that you've been stressed about work and that maybe we should consider counseling." I let the words settle between us. Then I asked quietly, "Do you think I seem unhappy?" Nathan looked at me directly. "Honestly, no. You seem fine. But my mom has known me my whole life. If she's noticing something, maybe there's something I'm missing." I nodded slowly. "Do you want to go to counseling?" "I don't know. Do you think we need it?" This was the moment. I could get defensive. I could accuse Patricia of interfering. I could create the exact drama she wanted, the kind that would make me look unstable and prove her concerns were valid. Or I could stay calm and plant a different seed. "I'm open to counseling if you think it would help," I said. "But I'd like to understand what specific concerns your mother has. Can you ask her to be more detailed so we know what we're addressing?" Nathan called Patricia that evening and asked her to explain her concerns more specifically. I could hear his side of the conversation from the kitchen where I was preparing dinner. "What exactly makes you think she's unhappy?" Long pause while he listened. "Okay, but when did you notice this? Can you give me examples?" Another pause. "Mom, I need specifics. I can't address vague feelings." His voice had an edge of frustration. When he hung up, he came into the kitchen looking confused. She couldn't really explain it. Just kept saying she had a feeling that mothers know these things. "She mentioned you seemed quiet at dinner last month, but I thought you were just tired." I turned from the stove and faced him. "Nathan, can I ask you something? And I need you to be completely honest." He nodded. "Does your mother want us to be happy together?" The question clearly caught him off guard. "What? Of course she does. Why would you ask that?" I chose my next words very carefully. "I'm not trying to create problems. But over the past 3 years, I've noticed a pattern. Your mother often expresses concerns about me that you don't see yourself. She suggests I'm not stable enough, not ambitious enough, not the right fit for your life. And when I try to address those concerns directly with her, she's warm and supportive to my face." Nathan was quiet, processing. "You think my mom doesn't like you?" "I think your mother loves you very much. And I think she's having trouble accepting that you've built a life that doesn't center around her." The conversation ended without resolution. Nathan insisted his mother meant well, that she was just overprotective. I did not push. Instead, I suggested he think about it and we could talk more later. But I could see the seed had been planted. He was starting to question, even if he was not ready to admit it yet. Over the next few days, I noticed Nathan watching interactions more carefully. When Patricia texted him about planning a trip together, just mother and son, he showed me the message and asked if I minded. When she called to discuss our finances, he mentioned that those conversations should include me. Small changes, but significant ones. Patricia noticed too. Her texts to me became less frequent. When she did message, the warmth had cooled slightly. She was recalibrating, trying to understand why her usual tactics were not working. I maintained my friendly demeanor, responding to her messages with cheerful politeness. But I was also preparing for the next phase. Because I knew Patricia would not give up easily. She would escalate. And when she did, I needed to be ready. I spent evenings organizing my documentation into a clear timeline. Every incident, every message, every manipulation, all arranged chronologically with dates and context. I printed nothing, kept everything digital and password protected. This was not about revenge. This was about protection. About ensuring that when the moment came, I could show Nathan the truth in a way he could not deny. The escalation came on a Thursday afternoon. I was working in our home office when I heard the front door open. I assumed Nathan had come home early until I heard Patricia's voice calling out, "Hello? Anyone home?" She had used her key again without calling first. I closed my laptop and went downstairs. Patricia stood in our entryway, holding shopping bags and smiling. "Oh good, you're here. I brought some things for the house. New throw pillows for the living room. The ones you have are looking worn." I glanced at our couch. The pillows were less than 6 months old. "That's thoughtful, but we don't need new pillows." Patricia waved away my protest. "Nonsense. These will look much better." And I picked up some groceries. "I noticed last time I was here that your pantry was poorly stocked." She walked past me into the kitchen and began unpacking items I had not asked for and did not need. I stood in the doorway watching her rearrange my home. This was a power play. A reminder that she still had access, still had control. When she finished, she turned to me with a bright smile. "There. Much better. You really should keep the house better stocked. Nathan shouldn't have to worry about whether there's food when he gets home from work." Every word was carefully chosen to imply I was failing as a wife. I smiled back just as brightly. "I appreciate your concern. But please call before coming over. We value our privacy." Patricia's expression hardened for just a second before she recovered. "Of course, dear. I just wanted to help. You know I only have Nathan's best interests at heart." After she left, I immediately changed the locks. I called a locksmith and had it done that afternoon, before Nathan got home. When he arrived, I explained calmly what had happened. "Your mother came by today without calling. She used her key and brought things we didn't need. She rearranged our kitchen and implied I wasn't taking care of you properly." Nathan looked tired. "She probably meant well. Maybe. But this is our home. I need to feel comfortable here." I changed the locks. If she needs to visit, she can call first and we can let her in. I expected him to be upset. Instead, he just nodded slowly. "That's fair. I'll tell her." That evening, he called Patricia and explained the new boundary. I could not hear her side of the conversation, but Nathan's jaw tightened as he listened. "Mom, it's not about trust. It's about privacy. Every couple deserves that." When he hung up, he looked at me and said quietly, "She's very hurt. She thinks you're trying to separate us." I sat beside him and took his hand. "I'm not trying to separate you from your mother. I'm trying to build a healthy marriage where we make decisions together without outside interference." He squeezed my hand but said nothing. I could see the conflict in his eyes. Loyalty to his mother versus respect for his wife. That conflict was necessary. Because until he was willing to choose, Patricia would keep pushing. The next few weeks were tense. Patricia stopped texting me entirely. Her messages to Nathan became more frequent, filled with thinly veiled complaints about feeling excluded and worried about his happiness. Nathan grew quieter, withdrawing slightly as he processed the situation. I gave him space while maintaining my documentation. Then came the incident that changed everything. Patricia called Nathan at work, claiming she had fallen and hurt herself. She needed him to take her to the hospital immediately. Nathan rushed out of the office and drove straight to her house. He called me from the emergency room 3 hours later. "She's fine. Just a bruised hip. But the doctors want to keep her overnight for observation." I heard something in his voice. Suspicion. "What happened?" I asked carefully. She said she tripped going down the stairs. But when I got to her house, she was upstairs in her bedroom, fully dressed, hair done. There were no stairs involved. He paused. The emergency room doctor asked me privately if she had a history of attention-seeking behavior. Apparently, her symptoms didn't match her story. I said nothing, letting him process. That night, Nathan came home looking exhausted and confused. He sat at the kitchen table while I made tea. "I think my mom lied to get me to come over," he said quietly. "I think she staged the whole thing because I haven't been visiting as much lately." I set the tea in front of him and sat down. "What do you want to do?" Nathan spent that night going through his phone, reading through months of messages from Patricia with new eyes. I watched him scroll and pause and frown, seeing patterns he had never questioned before. The constant emergencies that required his immediate attention. The health scares that resolved once he arrived. The financial concerns that disappeared after he spent an afternoon with her. Around midnight, he looked up at me with something like grief in his eyes. "How long have you known," he asked, "that your mother struggles with boundaries?" "Since the beginning. But I couldn't tell you. You had to see it yourself." He set his phone down. "I feel like I've been blind. No, worse. I feel like I chose to be blind because acknowledging the truth meant dealing with something I didn't want to face." I reached across the table and took his hand. "You love your mother. That's not wrong. But love doesn't mean accepting manipulation." He nodded slowly. "I need to talk to her. Set real boundaries. But I don't know how without destroying our relationship." This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment when Nathan was finally ready to hear the full truth. I stood up and got my laptop. "Before you talk to her, there's something you need to see." I opened the documentation folder and turned the screen toward him. "I've been keeping records. Not to hurt her or punish her, but to protect myself. And now, to help you understand the full scope of what's been happening." Nathan spent 2 hours going through everything. The screenshots, the emails, the timeline of incidents. He read Patricia's messages to me, comparing them to what she told him privately. He saw the contradictions, the manipulations, the calculated undermining. When he reached Amber's video, he played it 3 times. Watching his mother openly mock me, hearing her discuss strategies to show him what a real partner should look like, something broke in his expression. "I need to call Amber," he said. They talked for 40 minutes. I only heard Nathan's side of the conversation, but it was enough. He learned about his previous girlfriend, about Patricia's pattern of destroying relationships, about the manufactured evidence and careful lies. When he hung up, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I am so sorry. I made you deal with this alone. I should have seen it. I should have protected you." I shook my head. "You're seeing it now. That's what matters." Nathan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I need to confront her. But not alone. I need you there." We decided to wait until the weekend. Nathan wanted time to prepare, to decide exactly what he needed to say. In the meantime, he stopped responding to Patricia's daily messages. She noticed immediately. By Friday, she was calling multiple times a day. Nathan ignored every call. Saturday morning, we drove to her house together. Nathan had rehearsed his speech. I had brought nothing but my presence. When Patricia opened the door, her smile was bright but brittle. She sensed something was wrong. Patricia invited us in with false cheerfulness. What a nice surprise. I was just making coffee. We followed her to the living room but did not sit down. Nathan stood with his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. "Mom, we need to talk about some things. And I need you to listen without interrupting." Patricia's smile faded. "What's wrong? For the past 3 years, you have been actively working to undermine my marriage. You've lied to me about my wife. You've manipulated situations to make her look bad. You've tried to convince me she's not good enough, that I made a mistake, that I should be with someone who matches your idea of appropriate." Patricia's face went pale, then red. "That's not true. Who told you this? Did she tell you this?" She pointed at me. Nathan held up his hand. "I saw the video, Mom. I heard you with your friends, laughing about how you're working to show me what a real partner should be. I read through 3 years of text messages where you said one thing to her face and something completely different to me. And I talked to Amber about what you did to my last relationship. Patricia started crying. Nathan, sweetheart, you don't understand. I only want what's best for you. She's manipulating you. Can't you see that? She's trying to separate us. Nathan's voice stayed calm but firm. No, Mom. You're the one who's been manipulating. And it stops now. Patricia tried every tactic. First tears, then anger, then guilt. She accused me of poisoning Nathan against her. She claimed I was jealous of their close relationship. She said she was just trying to protect him from making a mistake. Nathan listened to all of it without responding emotionally. When she finally ran out of words, he spoke. Mom, I love you. But I love my wife too. And I have to choose a partner who will build a life with me, not a parent who tries to control that life. Patricia's tears stopped abruptly. So you're choosing her over me? I'm choosing my marriage over your need to control me. There's a difference. He pulled a paper from his pocket. I wrote down the boundaries we need going forward. No more unannounced visits. No more discussions about our finances without both of us present. No more comparisons to other women or suggestions that my wife isn't good enough. And no more manufactured emergencies designed to get my attention. He set the paper on her coffee table. If you can respect these boundaries, we can rebuild our relationship. If you can't, then we'll need significant distance until you're ready. Patricia looked at the paper like it was a death sentence. You can't do this. I'm your mother. That's exactly why I have to do this. Because I want you in my life, but only in a healthy way. We left shortly after. Patricia did not say goodbye. The next few weeks were difficult. Patricia called Nathan repeatedly, leaving voicemail messages that cycled through every emotional manipulation she knew. Guilt about sacrifices she had made raising him alone. Anger about being disrespected. Fear that she was losing her only child. Nathan listened to each message once, then deleted it. He did not call back. I watched him grieve the mother he thought he had while accepting the mother who actually existed. It was painful, but necessary. Then, 3 weeks after our confrontation, Patricia sent a different kind of message. It was simple and brief. I would like to try respecting your boundaries. Can we have coffee? Nathan showed me the message. What do you think? I think you should meet her, I said. But somewhere public. And keep it short. They met at a coffee shop near her house. Nathan went alone at my suggestion. This was his relationship to repair or end. He needed to handle it without me there to blame. When he came home an hour later, he looked cautiously hopeful. She apologized. Not for everything, and not perfectly. But she acknowledged that she crossed lines and that her behavior was damaging our relationship. She wants to try counseling. I processed this carefully. Do you believe her? I don't know yet. But I'm willing to give her one chance to prove she means it. Over the next 3 months, Patricia attended therapy and actually worked on changing her behavior. She called before visiting. She stopped commenting on my career or appearance. She asked about our lives without trying to fix problems we didn't have. The real test came when we invited Patricia to Thanksgiving dinner at our house. She arrived with a store-bought pie and a genuine smile. Throughout the evening, she engaged in actual conversation rather than performing concern. She complimented the meal without suggesting improvements. She asked Nathan about his work without implying he was stressed because of me. It was not perfect. I caught her starting to make a comment about our furniture arrangement before stopping herself. She began to offer unsolicited advice about our finances, then redirected to asking about our investment strategy instead. But she was trying. After she left, Nathan and I cleaned the kitchen together in comfortable silence. Finally, he said, I never thought she could change. I thought we would just have to keep our distance forever. I set down the dish I was drying. People can change if they're motivated enough. She was motivated by the thought of losing you permanently. He pulled me close. Thank you for being patient. For documenting everything instead of just demanding I believe you. For giving her a chance even after everything she did. I rested my head against his chest. I didn't do it for her. I did it for us. Because I love you, and I knew you needed to see the truth yourself. If I had just told you without proof, it would have created exactly the division she wanted. 6 months later, Patricia's progress continued. Our relationship would never be warm or close, but it had become respectful. She stopped trying to control Nathan's choices and started accepting that he had built a separate life. The real breakthrough came when Patricia's sister visited from out of state. During a family dinner, her sister made a comment about how unusual it was that Nathan had married someone so different from their family's usual social circle. Before I could respond, Patricia spoke up. Actually, that's what makes her perfect for him. She's independent and stable, and she doesn't need Nathan to complete her life. She chose him, not his position or connections. That's rare. I glanced at Nathan. He looked as surprised as I felt. After dinner, Patricia pulled me aside. I owe you a real apology. Not the surface one I gave Nathan months ago, but a genuine one. I was threatened by you because you have something I never had. The ability to be complete on your own. I thought if Nathan loved you, there would be no room left for me. I understand now that love doesn't work that way. I studied her carefully. Thank you for saying that. She nodded. I can't undo the past 3 years. But I can try not to repeat those mistakes going forward. If you're willing to let me. I thought about all the documentation I had kept, all the careful recording of her manipulations. I'm willing to see where this goes. But the boundaries stay. A year after the confrontation, Nathan and I celebrated our anniversary at the restaurant where he proposed. Over dinner he said, I've been thinking about what my mom said. About you being complete on your own. I waited. I think that's what saved us. You didn't need me to rescue you from her. You didn't need me to choose between you immediately. You just quietly built your case and waited until I was ready to see it. He reached across the table. Most people would have given me an ultimatum. Your mother or me. And honestly, if you had done that, I probably would have resented you for it. But you didn't. You just loved me and protected yourself and let me come to my own conclusions. I squeezed his hand. I learned something too. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is document the truth and wait. Not revenge, not confrontation, just patience and evidence. Nathan smiled. You know what's funny? My mom was right about one thing. You don't match our family's usual standards. You're better. You're kinder and stronger and more patient than anyone I grew up around. That night, I went home and deleted the documentation folder. I didn't need it anymore. The truth had been revealed not through my accusations, but through Patricia's own words caught on video, through patterns Nathan recognized himself, through consequences she created. I had not destroyed her. I had simply stopped protecting her from the results of her own behavior. 3 years after receiving that video from Amber, I sat in our backyard watching Nathan plant tomatoes in the garden we had built together. Patricia was coming for dinner later, bringing her new boyfriend, a retired teacher who seemed to genuinely care about her happiness. Our relationship had transformed into something manageable. Not perfect, but respectful. Boundaries held. The doorbell rang and Nathan went to answer it. I heard Patricia's voice, warm but not overwhelming, asking about our week without interrogating. I thought about the woman in that video, sitting at her dining room table with friends, laughing about how to show her son what a real partner should be. And I thought about what actually happened. She heard the truth eventually. Not from me. From him. Because I had understood something crucial. The most powerful revenge against manipulation is not counter-manipulation. It is patience. Documentation. Allowing someone's own words and actions to reveal their character. I had not needed to be cruel or dramatic. I had just needed to be consistent, dignified, and strategic. I let Nathan see his mother clearly by stepping back and holding up a mirror. And in doing so, I protected our marriage without destroying his relationship with her. As we sat down to dinner that evening, Patricia across from us with her boyfriend, I caught her eye and smiled. She smiled back, genuine warmth mixed with respect. We both knew what had happened. We both understood the battle that had been fought and won, not with weapons but with truth. Some victories do not require destruction, just clarity. And sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be driven away quietly.